Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 virtual annual meeting of Landis. We're excited to have you. We're really excited because there's a lot of great news to share with you today in this 1 hour time slot that we've got. I couldn't be prouder of the results that all of you as our farmer owners, our employees, and our business colleagues that have been a part of this success and this journey that Landis is on. I am Matt Karstens, your president and CEO, and I'm proud to serve as that. My heritage runs deep within the Landis community, being from here, having a father that was a part of this organization, and other family members as well. This company is important to me, as I hope it is all of you. And again, I'm extremely excited for us to share what we're about to talk about. From an agenda perspective, we'll have the usual business meeting called to order by our board chair, Nate Stewart, the introduction of candidates that will come from him as well, election results. Then we'll switch over to the financial results from Mark Miner, our CFO. We'll have a management discussion with myself, and then we'll adjourn the meeting again with Nate Stewart. After that's all over, we'll go to a Q&A session, which I believe is one of the most critical parts of our annual meeting, is talking with you on what's about the topics that are on your mind. A friendly reminder that if you'd like to submit a question for the Q&A, you can do that anytime during the session by clicking on the chat button at the bottom of the screen, typing in your question in the sidebar, and submitting that. This is available to anyone. But I want to remind you, questions that will be answered due to limited time will be on the broad nature that affects the majority of our farmer owners, and also things that we won't address as anything specific to an area or specific farming operation or any personnel discussions. So with that, let me turn it over for the opening comments and opening from Nate Stewart, our board chair. Nate?
Thanks, Matt. On behalf of Landis employees and the board of directors, welcome to the 6th annual meeting of Landis. I'm Nate Stewart. I serve as the board chairman of the Landis board. I'm glad you're able to join us virtually again this year. The annual meeting is designed to provide members access to financial updates about your cooperative, give you insights into the future of where we're headed, and offer you the chance to ask questions from our leadership team. Secretary Showalter, do we have a quorum? Yes, we do. Thank you, Matt. I call the 6th annual meeting of Landis to order. A copy of the minutes are available and have been available from the 5th annual meeting at landis.com. Having heard nor received any additions or corrections, they shall stand as approved and as received. I will now introduce the current board members of the Landis Board of Directors. So I'm Nate Stewart. I live west of Cedar Falls and west of Cedar Falls, north of Dyke. Ryan Brisley, vice chairman, is from Polk City and farms by Boone. Matt Showalter is secretary and treasurer from Hampton. Ron Boos from Lake City. Jim Carlson from Gowrie. Matt Chambers from Audubon. Jeff Frank from Auburn. Gary Graber from Forest City, Dan Heller from Irwin, Tim Colder from Applington, Dan Reynolds from Rockwell City, Sue Tronchetti from Peyton, Bryce Capel is our associate board member. From Maxwell, Bill Northey is our outside director, and he currently lives in Urbandale. It's been a privilege to work with this group of leaders over the last year. Each member has demonstrated a commitment to positioning this co-op for long-term success and in looking forward and not back. I want to thank all board directors for their dedication to all 7,000 plus farmer owners. I'm eager for you to hear today from President and CEO Matt Karstens, CFO Mark Miner, and members of our executive team. Strong leadership is a key component to the success of any business, and at Landis it starts with a board of farmer owners. As we worked forward this year to the board election, our nominating committee worked hard to identify strong candidates to be involved with Landis. I'm proud to say that this year we received a record number of interested candidates thanks to the hard work of our nominating committee. I'll now introduce the board candidates for each of the open 4 positions. Running for director's position number 1 is Lynn Berry of Manila, and Dan Heller, who currently serves on the board and holds this position. Running for director's position number 2 is Tim Colder of Applington, who currently holds the position, and Caitlin Kokamiller of Boone. Running for director's position number 3 is Ron Boos of Lake City, who currently holds the position, and Logan Fendrich of Faribault County, Minnesota. Running for director's position number 4 is Gary Graber of Thompson, who currently holds the position, and Bryce Capel of Maxwell, who currently serves as our associate. Landis General Counsel Steve Nielsen and our ballot tellers counted the ballots on Thursday, December 9th, and we will post the outcome of the election on the Landis website. I will also announce them officially at this time. In the position, or in the election for the Board of Director number 1, Lynn Berry has been elected to serve a 3-year term. In the election for Board Director number 2, Caitlin Kokamiller has been elected to serve a 3-year term. In the election for Board of Director position number 3, Ron Boos has been elected to serve a 3-year term. And in the election for Board of Director position number 4, Bryce Capel has been elected to serve a 3-year term. Congratulations to Lynn, Caitlin, Ron, and Bryce. Your leadership at this cooperative matters as we continue to grow and evolve this business for the benefit of our farmer owners. Back to you, Matt.
I too would like to send my thanks to the outgoing board members for their hard work and leading the change that's occurred here at Landis. We couldn't have done it without you. And I also want to welcome the new board members as we look forward to continuing our journey with all of you. It's an exciting time to turn the platform now over to Mark Miner. As Landis, over the last 6 years, we've seen a lot of change, a lot of hurdles we had to overcome, a lot of cause for concern from time to time. But today is a special day when we can announce the results of our financial efforts, which is the best way of any company to kind of monitor their success. As a company, we outperformed our budget by right at $1 million, or a 20% increase, with local earnings of $6.2 million, total earnings of $17.2 million. A phenomenal turnaround for this company. We did that by cutting expenses by more than $6.3 million and growing our top-line sales organically 26%. But as I think about these results, what's most impressive is that this happened under a time of uncertainty. With all the different headlines that were out there, the drought in a lot of our geography last year, the derecho that affected a ton of our geography, and then obviously the global pandemic with COVID. Most companies of any kind are standing in front of you in days like this and reporting down earnings, but not at Landis, not at your cooperative. The employees, the board, all of you as farmer owners rallied, helped take this to the next level, and did not accept defeat, did not accept the excuses that we could have easily taken forward. We rose to the challenge and grew our business with you and most importantly for you. And for that, I'm really excited to turn this over to our CFO of now over 35 years, 45 years in the industry, Mr. Mark Miner.
Thank you, Matt. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Miner, Chief Financial Officer at Landis Cooperative. As Matt said, I worked in the cooperative system since 1986. For more than 20 years, I've served as CFO. I've witnessed my fair share of change. Coming in on the heels of the 1980s farm crisis, I have witnessed about every weather and economic crisis you can imagine. But the rate of change in the last 12 months has undoubtedly been the fastest I have seen. When I spoke to you last year, we were still facing the many unknowns of the pandemic. We've had strange weather, crazy crop and input prices. But through it all, this team has remained committed to running a profitable business on your behalf, so that despite the uncertainty our industry can bring, we can stand before our owners and deliver the results we promised you a year ago. Despite one of the toughest years to navigate through, I am proud to share Landis' strongest financial results since our formation 6 years ago. Our total profit for fiscal year 2021 was $17 million. This continued a positive trend upward. Last year's total profit was $8.6 million. Under Matt Karsten's leadership, we have continued to push decision-making back out to the local employees who have you, the farmer owner, at the center of every decision they make. We've made major capital investments. We've added a 4 million bushel hoop building and rake, a 200,000 bushel bin in Plainfield, and we're modernizing and rebuilding our Jefferson site. We have also paid patronage back to our farmer owners, issuing 2 cents per bushel in cash to you, along with 7.3 cents per bushel in Section 199A tax deductions. These checks, ACHs, and deduction notices are going out tomorrow. Despite a 22% decline in total grain volume due to the derecho damage in the heart of our trade territory, Landis still managed to excel local operating budget by 50% by keeping expenses down and working with speed and agility to overcome these headwinds. Agronomy delivered its strongest performance to date. The teams grew fertilizer sales by 18% and drove liquid fertilizer sales up an impressive 30% over last year. Our Ralston soy processing facility crushed a record number of soybeans to serve strong demand in our animal nutrition business. Now we'll look more specifically at the financial statements of Landis. Total sales at Landis were up more than $298 million over the previous year at our August 31 year end. Total sales were over $1.45 billion. The breakdown of these sales come from the different departments. $872 million in sales in our grain department, $152 million in the agronomy division. Animal nutrition had $345 million in sales, and finally feed has $85 million in sales. Gross margins for 2021 were up more than $18.6 million to $124 million. Despite the 22% grain receipt reduction due to the derecho that blew through Iowa, our grain merchandisers were able to claw their way back and increase gross margins by $5 million. Animal nutrition was up over $11 million. While agronomy tons were up to 2020 levels, their margins were slightly lower. Total gross revenues are margins plus service income, and Landis was up more than $2.3 million to $171 million. While gross margins were up over $18 million, grain service income was down across Iowa. Our drying income was only $1.9 million to last year's $13.7 million. Storage income was only $6.2 million. Almost all bushels in our trade area came in dry as we sat in a major drought area. Also, with prices up, many growers sold right off the combine, thus not paying any storage charges to Landis or any other cooperative. Total operating expenses dropped by more than $6 million to $154 million. We break our expenses out in 3 areas: payroll, fixed, and variable expenses. Payroll expense was $56 million, down slightly to last year. Fixed expenses were $35 million, down $1.5 million to last year. And the big one, total variable, came in at $62 million, down to last year's $65.7 million. Total profit for fiscal year 2021 at Landis was over $17 million, up nearly double to last year. As you see from this slide, Landis is on a very strong earnings trend over the last 3 years, and 2022 looks even stronger yet. Now a few slides on volumes. Total grain bushels were down 22% this year. This was directly related to the derecho. Of total bushels sold, 99.6 million bushels were corn, 49.1 million bushels were soybeans. Fertilizer tons were over 325,000 tons this year. They're made up of dry, liquid, anhydrous, and lime tonnage. Dry fertilizer is up to last year at 156,000 tons. Liquid came in at 70,000 tons. Anhydrous was over 49,000 tons. And finally, lime tonnage ended up just short of 50,000 tons applied. Feed tonnage dipped slightly in 21 as Landis continues running its feed mills in Earlham, Halber, Dedham, and Larrabee. Larrabee is a mill we run in a partnership called Feed Partners. Our animal nutrition business delivered another strong year with our Ralston soy processing facility crushing a record number of soybeans again this year. This team continued to work hard to improve efficiencies year over year. At fiscal year end, they processed over 23.7 million bushels of soybeans in the Ralston facility. Landis continues to maintain one of the strongest balance sheets in the industry. This portion of the consolidated balance sheet shows our assets, or the value of what Landis owns. Our total assets on August 31, 2021 was valued at almost $500 million. Working capital is an important measure of financial health of your company. It's current assets minus current liabilities. Current assets are anything you can sell within a year. Current liabilities are anything you owe within a year. Working capital at Landis ended up $156 million. This amount is up to last year due to long-term debt changes and, of course, much higher income levels. Long-term debt was $68 million for the second year in a row. With low leverage levels of only 28%, Landis did not need to make a debt payment this year. This low limit means we're being very efficient with your money, and we have the ability to get access to funds when needed. The difference between working capital and long-term debt is something we call net debt. Net debt was a negative $88 million. This means that after we pay off all of our long-term debt, we still have $88 million left over. These numbers reiterate the strong financial position your cooperative is in for the future. This year, Landis will share over $2.2 million in patronage of 100% cash, which is 2 cents per bushel on all member grain bushels. In addition, we pass through $8.5 million in Section 199A tax deductions. This is 7.38 cents per bushel. This marks the second year in a row of strong growth and investment back into you, our farmer owners. We will continue to invest in the right assets to serve you in the future. We will continue to pay patronage as earnings dictate. Your cooperative has made incredible progress in a very short amount of time. Under current leadership, and the future is bright. Our working capital remains high. Our leverage remains low. We have access to more than $500 million seasonal funding if we need it. Your cooperative continues to maintain an extremely strong balance sheet while growing revenues and becoming much more efficient with expenses. The continued growth reflected in our year-end financials speak to our cooperative's shifts toward investing in the future and putting your interest at the center of everything we do, just like a cooperative should. In my more than 35 years working in the business, I have never witnessed this much speed and agility from a cooperative. Landis Cooperative, as any cooperative, is quite simply a group of farmers trying to do it better together than alone. What we need to do for our members is constantly changing, and constantly changing quickly. We must mirror our ever-growing owners. Many of the changes we are making are difficult ones and probably should have been made in the past. But these decisions are always done for the greater good of the cooperative as a whole, to make sure we have the ability to do what you, the owner member, needs done in the future, whatever that may be. I want to thank you for your business and your continued support of Landis Cooperative. Matt?
Thanks, Mark, for not only helping us obtain those results, but your constant leadership here at Landis. What a great fiscal year, but a lot of this is not achievable without you, our farmer owners, and I want to personally thank you for your continued trust and belief. Many of the text message and phone calls I get, or just general discussion, has been very much centered around your reflection of our change and the positive results, and your belief matters. But it's also not possible with the hard work of our employees. Any leadership team or CEO can stand in front of an employee base and give direction. That's what all of us do. But it takes a full team to believe, to execute that direction in a way that's not been done before. No drought, no derecho got in the way of what this team did. And as I'm equally proud of our farmer owners, I'm proud of this team for believing. So to both groups, thank you. It's truly made a difference. Our core businesses remain the same: agronomy, grain, and animal performance. In animal performance is both our animal nutrition, which is soy chlor, soy plus, and then also feed. These three core businesses are essential, or what I like to say is table stakes, to our future. That will not change. And some of the things that help make that better is first our renewed focus. Our renewed focus particularly on empowered employees, as Mark talked about, to where when you have a question, you can get it answered immediately, not 4 phone calls later. When you need assistance, a price, support, they have the empowerment to do that and the accountability to do that as well. Equipment upgrades and asset upgrades. Mark talked a little bit about the asset side. Like, that's an important part as we continue to build out what we need to serve you going forward. Speed, space, expertise is all important. Heck, something just as simple as our new pickups that we put in the fleet. You have noticed, and we're glad, and our employees have noticed as well. I also like to talk here about our farmers being at the center of everything we do. And make no mistake, whether you believe it or not, no decision, no action is taken without the thought of our farmers. But you must remember, as owners, the decision will be made for the majority, not the minority. And that's hard sometimes, and I know that. But I had an employee say this in a way that was a little more meaningful to me this weekend. On Saturday, one of our employees said, as a business, we must think with our brains, not our heart. And although feelings with the heart is important, this is a business. It's a cooperative. Business structured as a cooperative, financially and governance-wise. And we must make the decisions that start with our head. Although the heart's an important part, we will continue to do the right things for Landis as your company that serves the majority. Another part of our core business that really helps impact our success is our rail advantage. And we've realized that rail advantage in grain, even in agronomy and animal performance. This unmatched infrastructure truly defines why you voted to put Landis together. And it's paving the ways in fiscal years like 2021, where we have a pandemic and different uses for your grains slowed or even stopped. We were able to load trains, send that grain out of our state, across this country, across the globe. And it's not possible to be done without this rail infrastructure. I'd also say, echoing Mark's comments, the facilities upgrade has been important. Not just the 4 million bushel hoop building for corn you see on this slide next to me, but also the soybean bin you see that's nice and shiny off to the left for soybeans. Both of these upgrades in rake has made a difference. And I assure you all, as farmer owners, just those upgrades are not where we're going to stop. We've got many others coming that we're excited to announce to you as time goes on and continue to increase our speed, our space, our expertise, our ultimate ability to serve you, our farmers. And then last but not least on our core business is record production on the soybean side at Ralston, particularly with soy plus, but also soy chlor. Going through over 23.7 million bushels of soybeans is a record and demonstrates the value that this asset has for all of you as our farmers, our employees, and also our business associates listening in as well. We're proud of what Ralston and Jefferson do for us, and it's a key part of the journey forward. But now you might ask why. Why should I believe in Landis? A lot of what we've already talked about is what you hear from any business, cooperative, otherwise, doesn't matter. But I believe there's one fundamental difference that separates Landis from the rest, and that's our grow business. The fourth pillar of what we do that encompasses many things here at Landis, from our rewards program to our farmer owners, grain marketing or origination from our farmers, the agronomy expertise, feed insights, data, and overall insights that drive change, or just sustainability and carbon markets. Whatever it is, whatever the future leads, we've got a business to sort through that and provide you the expertise that you need. A good example of that is innovation. Historically in agriculture, farmers have not had a voice in innovation. Whatever has came, has came. You can like it, you cannot like it, it is what it is. And here at Landis, we believe that's wrong. Farmers should have a voice. Farmers should have insight into where the market's going, where innovation's leading, innovation that's needed for our industry. And a great example of this is the carbon market. You may have read in the Grow magazine that came out last week, we had 5 farmers qualify for financial rewards or monetization in the carbon market. Anywhere from, I think, nearly $35 an acre up to $74 an acre. That's real money. And that starts with being able to look into the future of what carbon markets could be, how you can adjust your organization, your farming operation ahead of time instead of doing it real time that year. We must get you on the front side, not only to have your voice heard, but to understand where the market's going. It's not a traditional role a co-op plays. I know that. But that is the future at Landis. This is not our grandparents' cooperative. It's your cooperative. And this is a table stake for us to be successful. Data and insights. Maybe not the most popular topic for our farmers, sharing information and that. I get it. But it is an essential part for us moving forward. And we're going to talk a lot about it during our innovation tours this winter, this summer coming up. We're excited to be able to share with you why this is so important. And that transparency from you, our farmers, to consumers is the best path to close the gap or the divide that exists today between consumers and farmers. I don't believe for a second that we should be ashamed of our past. Far from it. But I do believe there's an even better future as we become more transparent through data and the insights that drive your actions and monetization that helps connect that through the supply chain to the consumer. This is a wide open field, and we've got big names supporting and wanting to be a part of what we're doing here at Landis, like Google, like Indigo, and many others. And that list will continue to grow because I don't believe we can do it alone. Agriculture's tried, and quite honestly, with very little success. We must bring people in that understand this game. As you all well know, no one understands data and insights in this world like Google. And there's great companies coming behind it like Indigo and others that are absolutely going to be a part of this game, and we need to make sure they have a seat at your table here at Landis to ensure your success, both profitability-wise and with insights. And last but not least, under Grow, is our optimization by Landis. If you've been to the Innovation Center this past summer, you know the speech. But we cannot continue to do the same things we've done through mergers and acquisitions, especially in the cooperative world. It's not working. That doesn't mean acquisitions and mergers can't be successful and that we'll never do it. In fact, we just had an acquisition here at Landis with the Atlantic facility on the grain side. And I'm happy about that. Some of those have to be rushed to the altar because they're a here and now or miss the opportunity. But where it's not a here and now need, why not try optimization? Why not try to take some steps together before you bring it together to ensure that we're not putting your equity, your future here in Landis in any risk and causing the churn and angst that's been captured of recent mergers and acquisitions. And I'm really proud of the 6 companies that come along for us on this journey. You see those listed in the slide next to me, and there's many more to come. We're not bashful about optimization. It is an essential part of us to be successful, putting you once again in the center and making sure when we do something, whether it's a merger, an acquisition, that we can look you in the eye. We can write you that letter and mean what we say, not a plan of hope. So please look into further details around optimization. Get on landiscooperative.com, scroll down to the optimization section, and you'll be able to read past articles that we've published, including the fall edition of the Grow magazine. Now, none of this is possible without the leadership team. Most of these folks joined me on this journey coming here to Landis. and a few chose to stay and be a part of this. And I am extremely thankful for their leadership, but most importantly, their commitment to you, our farmer owners, and our employees. These 7 people believe. From Mark Miner, our CFO, who you've already heard from, Molly Toot, who leads the Grow platform, Mary Harrington, who does our communications and marketing, Tim Unruh, who leads administration, that ever-popular area of administration, John Sutterdahl, who leads products and services, a familiar face to some of you from the past, Don King, who brings a strong independent mindset to the field and helping them understand how a well-ran business operates. And last but not least is Steve Nielsen, who not only is our general counsel, has already been mentioned, but also leads safety and other pieces of the company. All pull in multiple duties a day to ensure that we can be efficient, continue to give you the best that we can. So there's a couple things as I look to the future I want our farmer owners to think about. You've heard me mention it several times already in one of the areas, which is the consumer. They have a voice. Over 4,000 products on a grocery store shelf has corn in it. We must make sure we're doing our part to tell the good story that is agriculture historically and the even better story that will be agriculture moving forward. I don't hold any ill against you, our farmer owners, or the consumers. Quite candidly, I look in the mirror and go, we and my peers have not done their job to give you all a voice through that complicated supply chain of food, energy, or even clothing or fiber. We have a role. We have a responsibility. And the sooner we find a way to be transparent through data and insights and connect end to end, the quicker and more fruitful this journey will be for us. I also think advocacy is an important part. Again, not a traditional role of the cooperative. Historically, we've kind of said it is what it is. Let the industry groups handle it. We've got other things to do. No more is that the case again. This isn't your grandparents' cooperative. We've got to give you a voice in the governments, both state and federal, in partnership with the industry associations like soybeans or pork and all the others that exist. We've got to make sure we give you a voice in that supply chain because it is daunting, confusing, cluttered. And those are no excuses for what needs to be done. That's why a cooperative is important in 2021 and beyond. And I can tell you, you've got the backing of the employees, the board, and I hope all of you to ensure this will be a long journey. At times, maybe even seeming, is it worth the journey? But make no mistake, it's worth the journey. Your voice matters. And when a farmer's voice is heard, I promise you, good things will come of this. And last is the Landis way. If you follow us on social media, if you've been at our Grow Rewards trip this year in Florida at the Innovation Center, you've heard a lot about it. But this is not just a language that we use to impress you. This isn't just some multi-word document we hang on our walls. This is the Landis way. And it's about agility, courage, teamwork, and speed. You heard Mark, after 45 years in this industry, talk about those two bookends of agility and speed. And although I'm hard on myself and my peer group of what we've done to get here in agriculture, the truth is, when we choose as agriculture to move at the speed and agility of all the rest of the industries we serve, like food and fuel, then we will win. But not until we decide to get out of the rut that is a traditional co-op or agriculture as a whole and look at the world through the lens that truly exists today, which moves at a fast-paced rate with a ton of agility. In fact, if you're in Florida, you heard me use the phrase that in the end, today is as fast as we've gone, but it will never be this slow again either. That's the world we live in. And we must bring that to everyone we serve, not just our farmer owners, but that entire supply chain to the consumer. So I want to leave you with a video before we close out the meeting with Nate Stewart. This video talks a little about this journey to the consumer through Friona Industries. Mr. Don Gales, who's their president and CEO, he was at an event and spoke very passionately about what it means to say working with that consumer, working with that supply chain, and what a company like Landis means to a huge beef operation and ethanol producer like Friona Industries is. We had Don and his owner and daughter out to see our business not that long ago. Got to ride in some combines and interact with a lot of our folks. And that meeting was important because when Don talks on this video, he was here and left and said, this is the company. This is how we move forward. And the owner and daughter said, why? Why Landis? And I give Don a lot of credit. There's no better way to explain why Landis than bring him to our innovation center. Bring him to our farmer owners and employees and let them see. And I'm happy to report when they got back on the plane, they looked at Don and said, we get it now. That's your Landis. Now for the video.
I think what's really fun about this event is we're really trying to bridge the gap that seems to be there between urban and rural.
It is about a bridge, and we talk about that a lot. What are the factors that drive that bridge from farmer to consumer? And it starts with bringing folks that aren't traditional to a cooperative like Landis's table.
It's more than producers and end users. You have technology companies. You have companies that are providing services to the industry, so it gives me a first-hand chance to communicate with a very broad spectrum of people from all aspects of agriculture that are looking forward, not so much where we're at today, but looking forward.
Agriculture is changing. Agriculture is meeting the challenges that consumers are putting forward to us, and they're the right challenges. Their voice is not being ignored, and good progress is being made in the way of water quality, air, sustainability as a whole, and just meeting the needs of feeding a growing, hungry population economically.
Farmers really care about the environment, and they want to be able to share their data to show consumers what they're doing on their farm. They don't have anything to hide. And then we talk to them about how can we help you look at different practices like maybe cover crops, products, and different technologies that we can use to help them make better decisions on their farm that will help them from a profitability standpoint and then environmentally. And then we can help aggregate that data, anonymize it, and help the farmers tell their story on a larger platform.
Consumers want truth and transparency. What goes in and on the food that they're eating? We're a cattle feeding company with 8 feed yards from Garden City, Kansas to Lubbock, Texas, and we're the second largest cattle feeder in North America. So as I look at a Landis with its position in agronomy and grain, 65% of our ration that we feed our animals are corn. And so we want to have a relationship with someone that's using the best technology to help producers become more sustainable, because we in agriculture are the solution.
Everything that we have within the grow business is thinking about moving ag into the future. So everything from technologies, innovations that are happening, that's what we really focus on.
This is really a nice start to that bridge from farmer to consumer, and I'm really excited about this and future events where we can continue to provide that path that's so important for all of us from that farmer all the way through the supply chain to the consumer.
We want the consumer to look at beef and say, it was raised here, and if they want to research, okay, well, here's where the feed ingredients come from, and this is how those feed ingredients were grown. That to me is where the food system's going. And when I look at Landis's footprint and both being in agronomy and grain with the infrastructure it has, that's a good partner for us to be having those conversations with.
The truth is that there is a lot of work ahead. There's a lot of work in every industry, but our farmer owners here at Landis are up to that challenge. And they work every day to make sure that we are listening to the consumer and that we are doing the things to bridge the gap from the farmer to that consumer and being transparent in where we're at and more excitingly, of where we need to go.
So before we close the business portion of the meeting and move into a Q&A session, I want to thank all the Landis employees who have worked tirelessly to deliver these successful year-end results and build a foundation for a much brighter future. From every farmer, we thank you. When the board selected Matt Carsons to lead the next chapter of Landis, just 2 short years ago, we set high expectations. We demanded strong financial performance, a renewed focus on farmer-owner interests, and a commitment to change. Our goal was to transform this cooperative and better position our farmer owners for a profitable and leading role in the future of agriculture. The board and I are proud to see our expectations are not only met, but surpassed in a year that dealt us many challenges. This team is committed to doing the hard work it takes to improve how we serve you today. And to prepare you for the future, Matt and his team have the full support of the board as they continue to challenge the cooperative status quo, embrace disruption, and position your cooperative to lead. I want to thank you for your continued support of Landis and ask that you continue to trust this team as we advance even further in the years to come. You, our farmer owners, are kept at the center of every decision made in the boardroom, and we will continue to put you first. To the Landis employees, thank you for demonstrating the Landis way. This is a new day for this cooperative, and I'm excited for the next chapter. Since there is no further business to be brought before the membership, I would accept a motion from the board floor to adjourn. Motion made by Gary Graber. Second by Tim Colder. Thank you. We will now move into our question and answer portion. Back to you, Matt.
Okay, so in the question and answer session, again, I think this is an important part, and your questions need to be answered that's on your mind. And we've had a few that have been brought in, so we're going to go ahead and go right into that. A reminder, you can click the chat button at the bottom of the screen. You see it highlighted here on the screen, and then type your answer in, and that'll be submitted in, and we'll read the questions as best we can get to. Again, anything that's related to a specific area, a specific farming operation, or personnel will not be addressed. Those will be handled on an offline basis. So with that, I've got the first question that I'll read, give some commentary to, and then I'll ask one of our leadership team to come up and address the question as well. So first question that came, I thought was a really good one. Where do you see the largest opportunity for growth here at Landis, and are we prepared? So I'm going to ask Don King to come up and give some thoughts to this as he makes his way up. I would say there's 2 areas that really come to mind for me when I think about largest growth. But when you say largest growth, you're wanting one singular answer, and I'll give you that, which is grain. Our business starts and stops with grain. We do agronomy, we do feed, we do animal nutrition, all the things we do to drive that grain business. And it tails to our biggest strength. Many of the folks that are nationals or even independents in the agronomy side or even in feed or animal nutrition don't have the access to grain or the infrastructure that we have, which makes it extremely important. But the other area that I would tell you that is always on my mind is this piece of data and insights. I believe in my career, sooner than later, you as a farmer owner will receive more compensation from the data and insights that's generated than the commodity generating that data and insights. And although that's hard to imagine, I assure you that day is coming. You see it already with the 5 farmers that participate in the carbon markets, $35 to $74 an acre. Think about that would mean to your farming operation. It's an important part as we go forward. So Don, I'm going to ask you to come up and talk a little bit about, are we ready? And do you even agree with those, starting with grain and off to data and insight? Don King, who leads our field organization.
Thank you, Matt. Growth is a topic I talk about every day at Landis. I've been a big growth promoter my whole business career, and it's something I always like improving our business. So let's talk about growth, where we're going to see growth at Landis. Number one will be grain. Our off-the-farm program has really picked up. We're driving that success every day. We got really good people that work for us in that business unit. And I see us doing a lot of things together, tying in other things with grain and growing that business going forward. The other thing I really see growing our business on the agronomy side is something I brought from my former businesses here. First to market. Before in our structure, kind of everybody came out with pricing on fertilizer, chemistry, kind of all at the same time. I'm a really big believer that all those products should be sold 12 months a year. And if you look at some of the offers that we had out here, I know that we currently have been one of the only cooperative systems with chemical pricing out today. But first to market is something I really believe in, and we're going to keep that strategy going forward. That opens up a lot different avenues that we can service the growers, and that's something we're really going to put our time into. And Matt, talked about data. That ties everything else in and where the future is going. So those would be the three big things. And Matt, thanks for the time.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate the question. Second question that came in, and this I believe was through Twitter actually, is we saw a lack of grain storage at certain facilities, I believe at harvest time, that was specific around Ralston and corn, but we'll talk about it a little broader as well. And they asked, can we talk about building storage and plans to address that? So the answer is yeah. Anytime you have a huge fall like we did across our geography, Ralston included, you see different pinch points that can occur. And our system, I would say, has been built successfully in the past around outside bunkers, and we even used some emergency piles this year where we had to. There was one rule at Landis this fall: no farmer gets turned away. Whether we have to put it on the ground, do whatever it takes to take your grain. You deserve that. And I don't think that happened at many other places. So I do believe we're demonstrating some of the good decision-making around putting you at the center of these decisions. But we're also looking at doing additional storage in the Jefferson market as we rebuild that, looking at Mitchellville as we bring Altoona and Bondurant down and switch that out to Mitchellville, which we announced last week, and then even in Early where we saw a big influx of storage needs. And there's many more to come. I wish we could do all of them we need to do in 1 year or two. It's just not feasible from a financial perspective, but even more so from a supply of the inputs that it takes to build and carry out those. So I want to ask John Sutterdahl to come up and talk a little bit from his perspective. He's seen this over his 20-plus years right here at our cooperative, and will bring some good insights into what we need to do and how we move forward in a way that continues to serve you, whether it's use of emergency piles or the future elimination of so many of our outside bunkers. John, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Matt, and thanks for the question. Yeah, it was a pretty challenging fall given the way that the yields, especially in the southwest part of our territory, really shocked, and almost a once-in-a-generation type of crop. But, I'm proud of the team because we were able to, per the Landis way, with agility and speed, react pretty quickly and locate rail freight. We benefited to some degree from the Dakotas having an off crop. There was a pretty good P&W bean program already on the books to China. So those exporters were needing to reach further into the interior. But I've seen this happen before usually when the crops surprise you and they're this big, you can't find the freight on time. But we acted quickly, decisively, and sent several bean shuttles from Iowa to the P&W. And granted, I've been trading grain for a long, long time, and that is not a normal occurrence. So that was proud to witness me a part of. But to the question, I think in the future, there's going to be fewer facilities, but they're going to be higher speed, higher storage capacity, and need to service a broader area. So as Matt said, we wish we could upgrade these hubs type facilities all at one time, but they are steel prices up 25% in 2 years, so we're dealing with that too. But we are committed to investing in this infrastructure. It's vitally important. There isn't another grain company in the U.S. that has the type of market access that we do, being on 7 railroads, 5 Class 1s, 2 short lines. I mentioned beans to the P&W. We're sending corn to Canada because of the short grain crop up there. We're sending stuff to Mexico. So literally, those are long moves in multiple directions. So having that market access and being nimble with shuttle capacity and storage speed or storage space to be able to market that at the right time, at the right place will be critical going forward.
Thanks, John, and well said. All right, the next question. It's a favorite one that I get as of late. Why are the headquarters being moved from Ames to Des Moines? Would you think there's a lot of leverage with Iowa State and Ames? So I'm going to ask Mary Harrington, who was a part of this journey all the way through and did a fantastic job of weaving through the complexity of making a decision to move any kind of facility anywhere that exists. But let me first talk about the Iowa State question. Whether we're in Des Moines, Ames, Farnhamville, Ralston, doesn't matter. Our relationship with Iowa State will not change. And they are an important part of what we do. There are connections there, and it's really well said by the person that wrote the question. But let's talk about what we're actually doing in Ames versus Des Moines. So first, it's important to note that the Innovation Center was in Ralston. And although a lot of us, me included, living closer to Ralston, have a lot of passion around that, that's not exactly the mecca of innovation. Where people want to come, whether it's a Google, an Indigo, some of our suppliers, some of our partners, like Friona, they want to come in and see it, close to the airport, be able to get in and out, and have that ease of convenience. 1. 2, it's important to note that we're moving the Innovation Center, and it will be predominantly space for innovation, where you can come and collaborate with us, see the innovation, talk to us about what's going on in your farming operations, what things you like that Landis is doing, what things that we need to change. That collaboration is important. And for goodness sakes, we want you to bring your spouse to where they can do some things in Des Moines, also join us for dinner, join us for the meetings, whatever their heart desires. We need to do that at a place that we can get you into safely. We can get other companies like Friona or Google into and back out of, and run the business as a company that is the size and scale of Landis. But it's also important to note that for our employees that are based out of the corporate office, as you would call it to the question, they are now work from home. So in Ames, where we used to have 75 to 80 employees, now we have on any given day 10 to 15 at most. We want to continue to be that company that allows them to give you the productivity, the speed and expertise that you deserve in a phone call, but also let them live where they need to live. But if they need to come in and have a meeting, they can do it at a place close to the Des Moines Airport, which is our largest airport, of course, in the state, have the amenities that Des Moines brings, and showcase that Landis is something different. So Mary, I'm going to ask you to come up and talk a little bit about the steps that you've taken and the analysis, and say anything else you want about this move that we're making, particularly on the Innovation Center from Ralston to Des Moines.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. We certainly get a lot of questions about this move, and understandably so. And I'd like to say that we're going to be reaching out in the weeks and months ahead to make sure that all of our farmer owners are the first to get an invite to come experience this new Innovation Center space in Des Moines. So if you have more questions, if you're not quite understanding what it is we're doing there, please reach out to a member of our team. We'd love to host you at the Innovation Center and get you connected with some of those exciting new innovation partners that we're going to be bringing through this winter season. As Matt said, I think it's important to understand that this is not a corporate office building. This is really an expansion of our Innovation Center, and it really marks an exciting next step for the growth we've been on with the innovation portfolio of our business this past year. So this space is going to be all about innovation, collaboration, and relationship building. So in addition to giving us an awesome space to get farmers directly connected with these innovation partners and make it easier for those innovation partners to come to Iowa and connect with you, on top of that, this also gives us another awesome tool to really elevate our advocacy efforts in telling that really critical rural farming story and connecting you with those audiences who have an impact on our industry and may have an increasingly big impact on our industry going forward. This gives you a better seat at the table with all of those non-traditional audiences that we believe we need to connect with going forward. So I think in closing, it's, from my perspective, I think it's important to know that we see this investment in our Innovation Center in Des Moines as not a departure from rural, but as one way we can further elevate that rural voice and get you connected with the folks we need to. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Mary, and thanks for your leadership around this topic. And just to close out this comment on the Des Moines move, what I'd ask our farmer owners to do is suspend disbelief. Until you've been there, it's hard to evaluate it. It's hard to understand what we're about to do because it's not traditional. I darn good and well know that. I live in rural. Most of the executive leadership team lives in rural. So I promise you, you were at the center of this decision. And once you've been there, I want your feedback. It will be important feedback for us to continue to mold that into what it needs to be, as Mary said, in conjunction with our partners that we also need to tailor to bring farmers closer to the consumer. The next question that came in is around carbon. Is Landis working with both Indigo and Truterra on carbon? What does that look like? Are they competitors or are they working together to serve farmers? So unfortunately, Molly Toot, who leads the GROW effort, has some personal engagements today that she couldn't be with us. But I'm going to ask Mark Miner to come up and address this a little bit from his seat. And there's no better person to talk about than the CFO and carbon, right? But in the end, the answer is really clear. Our job as Landis is to not pick sides. Our job is to get our farmers access to any and every viable carbon market. And it doesn't matter where that comes from. Our commitment is to you, not to choose winners and losers. The marketplace will sort that out. You will sort that out. But our job is to let both, in this case, Truterra and Indigo, and many others that we're also having discussions with through Molly's team, onto our playing field and let them have a seat at our table and let you decide which market is best for you. So is Truterra and Indigo a competitor? They are. But for us, we look at them as two different markets that's ultimately here to serve you, our farmer owners. So Mark, from your seat, why don't you talk a little bit about this developing market of carbon?
Okay, thank you, Matt. I talked a lot about in my speech about changing and doing for farmers what they need done. The carbon area is one big one. This co-op started selling coal and twine. That's how it was formed. And for as long as I've been with it, we've been taking your grain and selling inputs. Now in the future, we need to be more than that. And the carbon area is one of them. Data is one of them. And there's stuff on the horizon that we don't even know yet. So just do what we've done in the past isn't going to get us to do the right things for you. So the carbon market is key. As Matt said, $35 to $74 an acre. It's coming, whether you like it or not. It's going to be part of the deal. Data is going to be part of the deal. So we need to adjust and be the co-op of the future that can do things for you that you can't do on your own. So that's where we're going. They are competitors, but it's up to you to sort that out. It's our job to get you to the table. That's what we can do for our 7,000 members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And if Molly's looking for any help in the carbon market, you just earned a seat at that table, okay? So way to go. The last question that we'll get to today that came in, that's a good one. Will we be able to view this as a recording at a later time? And that answer is yes, but I'm going to have Steve Nielsen, who absolutely helps Mary Harrington and helps evaluate all this and make sure everything's legal and on stage. I want you to be able to get to know Steve a little bit, and he can give you some details of where to look for that and the accessibility of this as we go forward. Steve?
Thank you, Matt, and thank you for the question. The answer is resounding yes. We believe in transparency at Landis, so I hope you feel that out there. If you don't, please get a hold of us and talk to us about it. But the video will be available on our website tomorrow, as well as all of our social media outlets. So please look for it there, share it. Hopefully you've got good comments to say about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And I think our farmer owners are hopeful they never have to meet you from the general counsel perspective anyway, okay? So in closing, thank you for this opportunity to share with you from the executive leadership team, our board, our employees, but most importantly, your continued commitment to this company. You can see that this is not a traditional cooperative, and I'm proud of that. We run a business, financially and governance-wise, structured as a co-op. And there's a lot to be proud of with that. We will continue to act in the way of the Landis way to ensure that your future is as bright as it's ever been, and that for many generations to come, upon your choice, that your operation can stay and engaged in a way that's profitable and serving like I know each of you want to do for agriculture every day. Thank you for the opportunity, and we appreciate what you do. Happy holidays to everyone, and we look forward to continuing to serve you in the years ahead.